They said gold was eternal, indestructible, the only real money. But what if that belief repeated for centuries, printed in textbooks, echoed on television was completely wrong? Gold has started wars, sparked revolutions, toppled kings. And yet, the real power of money has never been in the metal itself, but in the myth. Because while we argue over gold and paper, the real story of money is being hidden. And that story is far more dangerous than most people realize. We're taught that money began with barter. The tale goes like this. Before coins, humans swapped goods, chickens for rice, shoes for firewood. It was clumsy, inefficient. So someone smart invented coins, problem solved. But here's the twist, that never happened. Anthropologists have scoured ancient records from Mesopotamia to the Americas and found almost no evidence of barter economies. None. What they found instead was debt. In ancient Mesopotamia, thousands of years before coins, people borrowed grain. Workers were paid in rations. Temples tracked who owed what. These were not coin economies, they were credit economies. Money began not with trade but with trust, obligation, and memory. That's myth number one, money came from barter. It didn't, it came from debt. But why would this myth be so popular then? Because it supports a certain view of human nature, a view that paints us as individual traders, always negotiating, always seeking profit. The myth of barter isn't just bad history, it's ideology. The truth is that early societies were deeply communal. Resources flowed based on status, kinship, or ritual, not transactions. In many Native American societies, and in Africa, gift economies governed trade for centuries. Even in 18th century Ireland, people recorded debts in the form of tally sticks. A farmer might lend milk to a neighbor in spring, expecting nothing until autumn harvest. Barter, as we imagine it, was never the norm. It was a last resort used during crises, between strangers, or when trust broke down. The irony, we keep teaching this myth in school, reinforcing the idea that money emerged to fix human inefficiency when, in fact, it evolved to manage relationships. And that misunderstanding continues to shape our world. Let's jump forward to one of history's greatest empires, Rome. They minted coins, gold, silver, bronze stamped with emperors' faces, marching eagles, and divine symbols. At first glance, it looked like a metal-based system. But look closer. The value of Roman coins wasn't just in the metal, it was in the message. Roman citizens believed a coin was worth something because the emperor said it was. It was a promise backed not by gold but by power. When emperors debased the currency mixing base metals to stretch supplies, there was inflation. Yes, but the coin still held value as long as people trusted Rome. This wasn't a gold-backed system, it was a faith-backed system. And that faith collapsed with the empire. Here's the myth. Money must be backed by something real, like gold, or it's worthless. But Rome proves otherwise. Value came from collective belief, not metal. The idea that money is only valid if it's tangible, if you can bite it and feel the weight, has been used for centuries to justify hoarding, inequality, and fear. But let me ask you this. Would you rather have a gold coin in a burning house or a working credit card and a helicopter? Value is context, and power, not metal, has always shaped money's meaning. Now, let's move into the modern world. The gold standard, a sacred cow of monetary history. For over a century, countries pledged that each paper bill could be exchanged for a specific amount of gold. The idea was that this would discipline governments, prevent inflation, and build trust. But in reality, it did the opposite. In times of crisis, World War I, the Great Depression, governments abandoned gold to survive. They printed money to feed people, pay soldiers, and rebuild economies. And those that clung to gold the longest, they suffered most. In Britain, the gold standard caused mass unemployment. In the US, FDR had to confiscate gold from citizens in 1933 as to regain monetary control. The myth said gold equals honesty, but gold meant rigidity. And in a complex world, rigidity kills. Let's be honest, the gold standard didn't prevent debt. It didn't prevent war. It didn't prevent collapse. It only made governments pretend they were in control while tying their hands behind their backs. And yet, even after it failed, the myth persisted. After World War II, the world needed a new system. So in 1944, at a peaceful resort in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, global leaders came together. They created a new monetary order. The US dollar would be tied to gold. Other currencies would be tied to the dollar. It was a compromise, a gold standard one step removed. And for a while, it worked. America became the economic engine of the world. Dollars flowed globally. Gold sat quietly in Fort Knox. But beneath the surface, cracks formed. The Vietnam War, the space race, expanding welfare programs. America was spending far more than it could back with gold. Countries like France began demanding gold in exchange for dollars. The illusion was breaking. On August 15, 1971, President Richard Nixon addressed the nation. In calm, measured tones, he ended the dollar's convertibility to gold. The reaction: chaos, outrage. Some called it the end of civilization. But the world kept spinning. The US economy grew. The dollar didn't die, it thrived. The gold standard, once worshipped, was buried quietly, but the myth refused to die. So what backs our money today? Not gold, not silver, not metal of any kind. What backs it is us, our labor, our innovation, our trust. Fiat currency is a promissory collective agreement that this piece of paper, or this digital number, holds value. And history shows that promise can be incredibly strong. In 2008, after the financial crash, the US printed trillions to save banks. Economists screamed hyperinflation, gold bugs hoarded. The dollar, they claimed, would die. It didn't. Then came the pandemic. Even more money was created. This time, inflation rose, but not because of printing alone. Supply chains collapsed, wars disrupted oil. People changed how they spent. Inflation is real, but it's complex. And yet, the myth lives on that printing money is always bad, that fiat money is fake, that only gold is real. But if gold is real, why do central banks now hold both gold and fiat? Because value is a social contract, and that contract, like any relationship, is built on trust. Here's the darker truth. These money myths don't just mislead us, they control us. They say governments must balance their budgets like households. But governments aren't households. They issue currency. They can invest in healthcare, infrastructure, education. And when they don't, it's often a political choice, not a financial necessity. We're told debt is immoral, that helping the poor causes inflation, that we can't afford universal basic income. But what if those stories are myths too? In Japan, debt is over 200% of GDP, yet inflation is low. Unemployment stable. In contrast, austerity in Greece caused depression, suicide, mass suffering. The real danger isn't spending, it's misunderstanding. And those who benefit from the myth? The powerful, the wealthy, those who already control the narrative. Money has never been just about coins, or barter, or even gold. It's been about trust. Faith in kings, in gods, in governments, in each other. And when that faith is broken, no gold can save us. We still hear it today. Money isn't real anymore. But it is, because belief is real. Systems are real. Cooperation is real. The myths of money barter, gold, inflation, debt aren't just wrong. They're dangerous because they stop us from imagining better futures. So next time someone hands you $1, a crypto token, or a gold coin, don't just ask what it's worth. Ask what story it tells. Because in money, the truth is never just in the metal. It's in the myth we're still living.